you for having me. Thank you for the nice introduction. I come from the sunny side of the internet. I am from the happy side. I am having a marketing background. I don't know much about cybersecurity and about crime. So I try to touch on where this interacts or interferes with marketing, and I tell you a little bit about the internet in general, our perspective on what's happening right now. But it's more broad, and it touches your core topic here and there. You'll see. As Niklas said, we prepare a huge presentation. This is only an excerpt of the presentation. The rest is on YouTube. And we usually start the presentation by picking out winners and losers of our digital time. Right now, who's winning, who's losing in digital? Start with the losers. First, who's losing? It's just a few examples. We don't try to be too hard on people. But we have some observations that I thought, okay, are worth sharing on the not-so-great side. Loser, to us, is second-tier tech companies. What do I mean by that? Second-tier tech companies are all those companies that obviously are not number one in their segment. As you can see here in this slide, in the social media space, Meta is winning. They are the leading player in the segment. Their value is going up and up and up, and everybody else in this domain is struggling. And that's a pattern we see across the different industries. In social media, it's Meta, and it's Pinterest and Snap and others that don't do so well. In mobility, it's a similar pattern with Uber winning the segment, everybody else, in this case Lyft, struggling. Or if you go to travel, you look at Booking, they are completely winning. Their value is increasing and increasing, and everybody else in the segment is struggling. So second-tier tech companies don't do so well, even though everybody in general does quite good right now with the Trump stuff going on. But still, I find it interesting that we're really living in a winner-takes-all market, apparently. And then another loser to us in digital right now is trust. And that touched a little bit on your topics here. Trust is losing, and I'll show you why. This is a video of our chancellor. She speaks German, so pay close attention to those of you who don't speak German. It's probably hard to follow, but I have more examples. Just like Angela Merkel, our former chancellor.
Ich schwöre, dass ich Dönerpreise auf 3 € lasse und dass jeder sich Seiten auf 0 leisten kann.
Hast du ganz stark gesagt.
So she talks about
weißt du?
Ja, Mann, beste Alter.
So she supposedly talks about döner, the Turkish and the national cult dish. But it wasn't her. It was just like some AI voice. And that you can probably tell it's very unlikely a former chancellor or chancellor talks about döner. But there's another example that I want to show you where it's not so obvious that this didn't happen. There's Mr. Beast, the famous YouTuber. Biggest YouTuber in the world, and that's what he says.
If you're watching this video, you're one of the 10,000 lucky people who'll get an iPhone 15 Pro for just $2. I'm Mr. Beast, and I'm doing the world's largest iPhone 15 giveaway.
That's very close to like how he usually comes across. You could not tell, if you're not a Mr. Beast expert, that that's not what he said. This is just a made-up video. It's fake, but it's very hard to tell, and that's just one example of why we think trust gets a little eroded these days, and it gets under heavy pressure. And I have another example for those of you who speak German. Sandra Maischberger, our famous talk show host, she supposedly said that.
Ich konnte es nicht glauben, bis du mir den Gewinn auf deinem Handy gezeigt hast.
So nobody showed her any prize on their cell phone. Didn't happen. But people use her trust and try to sell stuff and try to like drag people into wrong things. And I mean, those videos by themselves, they are funny and they are not like the problem. But if you imagine like how many million times they get shown and how easy it is to prepare them, I think that's when you get a feeling like for how trust is under pressure these days. Another loser, coming back to the main topic, who's also losing these days, and we think innovation is losing. That sounds weird, but the argument goes like this. In the past years, the major digital companies, they used to spend heavily on innovation. Basically, all the money they were creating, all the cash flow they had, went into research and development, into new tools, into new people, into projects they did internally. And that has changed. In the past month, I think for the first time, major tech companies, they give money to shareholders, they do share buybacks, they pay dividends. It's a new era where tech companies are actually like creating shareholder value not through innovation but through like financial instruments. You see all these headlines here, they just didn't exist before. Almost every major tech company is doing dividends and buying back their own shares, which is basically like this has the same effect. So that's new, and we created the argument that innovation is losing. It's hard to find losers, so we made innovation a loser. Don't hurt nobody, but still the story I think is interesting. And then who's winning? Who's a winner these days in tech? The first very unlikely winner to us is book clubs. Who would have thought I'd be on a stage in 2024 and be talking about books? And not very easy to predict, but it's happening. Almost everybody on social media has a book club these days. It starts with Reese Witherspoon, but there's just tons and tons of people. Almost everybody with a larger account now does a book club. And what does that lead to? It leads to actually people going, buying books, and even attending the book fair. I looked at the attendance numbers of the biggest German book fair, and half the people that go there are under 30 years. It's good news. I'm from the sunny side. And not everything is bad, and it's under constant threat. I mean, books are doing well. Okay, who else is winning? We think signature moves are winning. I mean, that is more of a marketing observation, but we think in order to win on social media especially, or in the internet, I mean, it's basically the same these days, you need a signature move. What do I mean by that? Look at these guys here. They are quite successful, enormous reach, and all they do is they have this golden towel, and then they pull it down, and you identify them within the very first second, and they have this immediate identification. Okay, it's those guys, it's the Siegfried and Joy guys, and that's their signature moves. And in order to win on social media, you need to have this move that people can identify and can relate to immediately. I'll show you another example. This guy here, one of the most successful people, I would say, on TikTok these days. Actually, he's German. His signature move is pulling out his hair. And whatever he does, he's like pulling out his hair. Yes, you see here. So it's within the first seconds, he's like dancing and then pulling out his hair. So that's his signature move. Or this lady, her signature move is not even a move. It's basically her hair, the green hair, and then this hip shake a little bit. But you need that. Signature move is what makes you win on social media. It's one element at least, one little ingredient. Who's also winning? Not surprisingly, on a much larger scale than the signature move people, it's India. We took a look at India, mostly from a digital perspective, and we're surprised how well things are going in India. And I actually first noticed that for real when I came across the news that this Indian couple got married, I think, earlier this year. And all these guys, they all attended. Basically, the whole US digital elite came to India to celebrate a wedding. They never came to Germany lately. None of them came to Germany. And last time, I don't know, I saw Tim Cook in Germany. Actually, he came to Oktoberfest with Kai Pflaume last year. But that's a different story. So it's very rare that you see these people attending European weddings. So you see the picture of the wedding, everybody there, and then you ask, like, why is it happening? How come? How come these things are happening? And you notice there's just a lot of economic activity in India. And it's best summarized, at least to me, by those two statistics. First, the number of new Autobahn, highway kilometers they are building there every year is 10,000. 10,000 new kilometers of highway in India every year. I mean, compare that to Germany. Like our longest distance from Hamburg to Munich, I think is 800, and it's been built a long time ago. an even better number is the number of airports they're trying to build within the next 10 years. 140. That's just crazy. 140 new airports. Look at all our European airports here. I don't know, do we have 140 in Europe? Probably yes, but it's just the new ones there. So a lot of stuff is happening. They are growing rapidly. Everybody in digital and in business basically is looking to India, and that's the reason. And also what I found interesting, coming back to a digital perspective, is like how influential Indian people have become in digital companies. Adobe has a CEO with Indian background, and then HubSpot, and even Chanel, and many, many others. So India is quite the winning country. They are relevant these days. They become probably more relevant in the future. They are a winner. So much for who's winning and losing. A little intro and a little excerpt of what we see on the internet and beyond. And then I decided, or I brought to bring some observations that are more operational and that are from a marketing angle. And obviously the question is, if I say marketing these days, everyone was asking, what's the role of AI in marketing? What do you have to say on that? And it's really hard to say, what does AI actually mean for marketing? It means many different things, and it's really early days. There's not this one thing, there's not this one message. So what we did is we took a page out of the Philipp Kotler book. Remember Philipp Kotler, the marketing professor that we all learned about in school or in university? At least those of you who studied business and marketing, that was the guy. He's the pope. He's the king of marketing, and he had these famous 4P. Remember, price, place, promotion. What was the fourth one? Placement, price, promotion, product. Exactly. So that's the 4P, and then our editor-in-chief at OMR, my colleague Roland, he tried to slide into the Philipp Kotler role and describe the 4C of AI in marketing, to break this complex question down into 4 Cs, a little bit the Philipp Kotler way. So what did Roland find? I'm not going to share all 4 Cs. It's too long. You can look at it on YouTube if you like. Just a few C's. The first C that we found fitting is cost efficiency. And what you see is happening these days is experts, marketing experts that we talk to, they rely on AI in the following ways. This guy, for instance, they're building their own GPTs, and they are, for instance, creating keywords, or they're identifying keywords that they like to optimize for with their SEO activities through their own GPTs. They build a custom GPT basically just to identify correct keywords in the SEO space. That is easy. That's like very efficient. Doesn't cost much. It's an application within ChatGPT, I think. Building your own GPT, and then you use it for keyword research and for keyword optimization. Another example that I find a little more creative is this guy, and what he told us is he does the following, also his own GPT, and what he does is he feeds it with customer reviews. He looks at customer reviews for the product that he likes to advertise, feeds the GPT with those customer reviews, and then what happens is they look within the customer reviews at certain words or terms or phrases that come across more often and always in a positive context across all kinds of reviews platforms. And then the AI or the GPT automatically generates social ads based on the vocabulary or on the terms that they identify in positive reviews. So they look at positive reviews, a lot of stars, 5-star reviews. What do people like? What do people say is positive about a product? And then they're building their ads automatically with those words. It's really efficient. It's not a big engineering task, but it's very smart and it's very easy to do. And you know, it probably improves your click-through rate. It improves the performance of your social ads, because those social ads basically react directly to what users tell you that they like and what other users tell you that they like. So it's very realistic to assume that those are questions or words that other people respond to. And then you see exactly that. You see how click rates go up if those new ads are based on reviews. What else do we see in AI and marketing? Another C. That was the cost efficiency C. Then the next C is customers. What do we see around customers? First, a lot of German people use AI tools. That's not so surprising. A lot of people in the world use AI tools, but they also use them for product research. The question now is, what does that mean? Like product research with AI tools. In the end, it means entering product questions into ChatGPT. So now, if you sell a product, if you want to be found, if you want to market the product, how do you react to that? How do you optimize ChatGPT? I mean, we all know how do you optimize for Google, how you do search engine optimization. How do you do ChatGPT optimization? It's not that easy. You know what's happening? People enter questions such as good tools for legal discovery. It's an example that we found. And then the first response is to a company that's called Logical. Logical, I don't know. And the guy that runs the company, he told us how he achieved that, how he managed to be the first result on ChatGPT, if you like. What does he say? First, he explains how effective that is, or how helpful that is to be the first result. I mean, and we all know how helpful that is because we've seen companies basically build on the foundation of good Google results. It's easy to imagine that you can achieve the same results as the first ChatGPT result. So that's not surprising. He grows. He says that 5% of his sales inquiries are coming in via ChatGPT. But how do you get there? How does he get there? That's a little more difficult, but it's very helpful to understand how ChatGPT manufactures its results. First, they are using an LLM, obviously, and in this LLM consists of 82% public web content. So you can optimize somewhere, you can spread content, you want to be seen, you want to have your content, your product be found across the web. But what does it mean across the web? It's very difficult to know where ChatGPT is looking. Then they also look at digital books. 30% of the input that goes into ChatGPT is digital books. 1% is Wikipedia. That's also impossible to optimize almost. And then 4% is Reddit. So if you look at that, it's not that easy to know where to go and where to optimize and where to drop content about your product and where to tell the web and tell then in the end ChatGPT that you're good and that you're relevant, that you're a good product. If you look at the weighted results of that, how they actually are weighted by ChatGPT, then you see that Reddit actually is super relevant. 20% of the results that come out of ChatGPT are basically are weighted and coming in through Reddit. So that's the one place where you can go and where you can very easily drop content, create new threads, comment, and without any additional cost, you can basically, I don't like the word, but spam Reddit. And that's exactly what happens right now. I don't like that. I'm just describing to you what's happening right now. You get good results in ChatGPT by optimizing Reddit because they are so relevant on a weighted scale to ChatGPT. Just sharing that. I don't know. You don't need to probably react tomorrow, but if you want to sell stuff, that's probably what you want to look at. I mean, remember the Logical guy, how he says that he actually increases inquiries through ChatGPT. That's what he does. He goes there and he has his interns and his marketing juniors probably all across Reddit. So now I have 2 minutes left, and I have another section of the presentation that I am still having to finish here. We call that a left field. I like to share, and that's more on a not so heavy cyber and security perspective, what I find attractive for marketing these days. I'm not sure if you're up for that, but let me just go through it really quick. Some marketing, some ideas to gain attention in a funny way. The first is around sponsoring. Right now, sponsoring is super expensive. If you look at the general stuff that people assume or like think about when talking about sponsoring, it's the Super Bowl halftime show. Sponsoring that show costs you what? Costs you 50 million a year, and you get like what Amazon gets, like some awareness, your brand in the Super Bowl halftime. How can you achieve the same with less? How can you go from the left field? How can you be surprising and achieving almost similar results with a lot less money? That's what I mean by left field. Left field is a marketing way to think about things differently and surprisingly. And what's the left field answer to sponsoring? It's not being Amazon and spending 50 million on the Super Bowl. What's the answer? What's the left field answer? And we thought a good example is Pop-Tarts. They make those things that people, especially I think in the US, like to eat. How do they gain attention? How do they sell their stuff? How do they manage the internet these days? What they do is they don't sponsor the Super Bowl. They probably couldn't afford that. What they sponsor is smaller college bowls. And then they have people wearing these toast costumes and jumping into these extra large toasters. So see that? It's a little unexpected. It's a little left field. But then they have those winning teams eat this stuff after the game, and then they obviously spread this on social media, and it has crazy results. If you look at what they get out of it, they pay 2 million a year. We researched that a little bit. It's by far cheaper than the Super Bowl, and they get like unreal reach on social media. So I thought that was a funny left field example of how to think about marketing, or in this case, sponsoring a little differently. Another example is I'm from Hamburg. Our women soccer team, they now sell advertising on the inside of the uniform. So look at this. Who would pay for a placement inside the uniform of the women's team, which is not as viewed as much as a men's team? I mean, the reason is this is like a left field approach. They pay not much, but they get a lot of PR for that. And then in the end, it's you pay for something, but you mean something else. They pay for this, but they mean the PR, and the PR effect was great. And that was the left field approach, another left field approach to sponsoring that I liked and that I wanted to share and that we put into the presentation. And then I wanted to share some ideas around people. On the internet, there's, or maybe even the real world, there's this perception that if you want to be successful as a brand, you have to be associated with the successful people, with the category-leading people. And I don't think that's true. The internet is a lot broader than just the category-leading people, than the #1 people. A German example of that in the cooking space is this guy. He's our most famous chef, Tim Melzer. He's the German Jamie Oliver. He's cooking, basically. So you look at him, and he's a nice guy. He's even my neighbor in Hamburg. His restaurant is next to our office. So he's a nice guy, but I wouldn't pay him what he asks. Because there's so many better opportunities. And one left field opportunity around people that I liked is this guy. And this is the cooking or the kitchen appearance influencer I would like to work with, and then I can acquire for a lot less. Just if you're here for cybersecurity, just enjoy it as entertainment. This guy.
Scheiß auf euch, ihr Spritzer, ihr könnt uns sowieso nicht. Das Video kommt noch aus der Zeit, als ihr versucht habt, uns mit einem Grillverbot loszuwerden und wir deshalb Salat gemacht haben. Salat mit Roquefort, Birne, Granatapfel.
Okay, you get the idea. This is how you present cooking stuff or kitchen stuff. That's how you create interest. And this guy, he's a new social media star around those topics, and he's a lot cheaper than Tim Melzer. The guys at Netto, a supermarket chain, have already realized that. And so this is the left field approach, like finding new people, finding the hidden people, finding maybe the not so conventional people,
Herzlich willkommen zu Is It Vegan? Die Show von
there's a lot more opportunity and maybe even like problems. Now we're talking about that a little bit, but there's a lot more opportunity. Let's look at it from the positive side than you think, and there's a lot more people and reach than most brands and even most CMOs realize. Okay, there's more of these guys, but like latest example for a left field approach and what's happening on the internet these days is an example around platforms. I told you about people, I told you about sponsoring, and I wanted to share some ideas around platforms. Most people think that TikTok is a social media platform. And that is true, it looks like this, but it's also, and that's important, it's also, these days, it's also a search engine. And that's probably not so obvious for many people, but people search on TikTok, especially young people search on TikTok. They even created their own desktop or like icon, like it's not an app, but it's a shortcut to TikTok search that millions of people have installed. So TikTok is a search engine, and I think that's interesting. If you look at how they come across now, it looks like Google used to look 10, 15 years ago. The interface, the statistics, everything like early days search with Google, now with TikTok. And if you talk to people that are successful on TikTok, and that's exactly what they tell you, then they optimize. We have talked to a lady, for instance, that is successful in the space of vegan cooking, Maya Leinebacher, or Leinebach. We talked to her and asked her how did she achieve that? Why is she the first? Why is she on the result page for vegane Rezepte? Why is she there? And she told us, and it sounded so boring and so obvious, but she just does very simple and plain TikTok optimization. Same with these guys. They are on the #1 side at TikTok for Steuererklärung, tax declaration. What did they do? They did the very, very basic things. And what did they do? I show you. Keyword and title descriptions. So they describe what they do there. That was like Google 10, 15 years ago. That was like when Google was very easy to game, long time ago. That's what's happening on TikTok now. This is like a huge opportunity. I mean, if you're like have some kind of marketing affiliation and you're sitting here, do this. This window is going to close in the next few months, at least probably like the next year or year and a half. It's over because everybody will be doing this, and then it's gone, and you can't get any advantage anymore. But right now, like optimizing for TikTok search is easier than ever, and probably ever will be. It's cheap, and there's a window of opportunity, and I wanted to show you. I want to tell you about it. Use keywords and title descriptions. If you tell that to an SEO guy, they're going to laugh. It's just it doesn't exist. No advantage possible. But here, everything goes.